welcome to the Friday Night Curry Club. Welcome to my kitchen, and I want to say, obviously, a very, very warm welcome to you all. I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody's had a good week, and I hope you're all ready for the weekend, ready to chill out and relax and take it easy. I feel like I've had a really long week. I'm a little bit tired, but let's all invigorate each other, shall we, through our cooking. As always, I'm going to ask you all to say a big hello. Let me know where in the world you are tuning in from. Let me know if you are going to be cooking along with me, or let me know if you've got any questions at any point throughout the whole session. Please do ask away. I hope that lots of you are cooking. We're going to be making a very nice sort of coming into the summer springy style dish, and it's going to have lots of flavour and lots of lovely ingredients. Have we got lots of people waiting in the wings to say hello?
We've got Mark and Sheila in Weymouth, are prepped and ready.
Hi Mark, hi Sheila in Weymouth, welcome. Thank you for joining me, and I'm glad that you're all prepped and ready and raring to go. Amazing.
Also ready is Mark in Cape Town.
Hi Mark in Cape Town, are you cooking? Is that right? You're cooking with me, amazing. Oh, I've heard there's been a big fire and so on down in Cape Town, hasn't there? So I hope everybody's well and doing okay there.
Julian is here, all prepped and raring to go.
Hi Julian, prepped and ready to go. Yes.
Tracy's here in South Australia.
Hi Tracy in Australia, welcome.
2:45 in the morning.
2:45 in the morning. I am so sorry. I feel so guilty, but every week you're here, and I'm thrilled that you join every week. Thank you, Tracy.
Troy is watching in Barbados.
Oh, Troy, you're in Barbados. How's the cleanup going? I hear it's been absolutely crazy. I was talking to some colleagues this week, and they've said that the ash is everywhere and the cleanup is just taking so much time. I hope you're doing well though.
We've got a few people in Ontario and Linda in Arizona.
Hi Linda in Arizona, welcome to my kitchen, welcome to the UK.
And we've got the Champagne de Mangean guys.
Hi Giles, how are you? Lovely to have you join. Are you cooking? I want to know if you're cooking. If you're not, that's okay.
Said we're here our first, so I'm not sure if they're cooking.
Oh, so maybe you are cooking. Exciting.
We've got Joni's here. Lawrence is in the chair tonight as I play.
Hi Joni. Hi Lawrence. Lawrence is cooking, is he? Are you cooking, Lawrence?
Lawrence is in the chair tonight as Joni plays with their new puppy.
Oh, you've got a new puppy. Take some pictures. We want to see photos of this amazing puppy.
If I remember correctly, I think they were adopting one from last
That's right,
week,
you were adopting one from Hungary.
Something like that, yeah.
Weren't you?
Remember.
Take a picture, share it on the app. I want to see your new puppy.
We've got Mauricio in Turin, Italy.
Hi Mauricio in Turin, in Italy. Welcome.
We've
Ciao.
got Ads is not cooking tonight, but's got all the ingredients ready tomorrow.
Amazing. It's always nice that some of you watch live and then you cook tomorrow, because I get all these recipes, all the photos coming in all over the weekend. So I like your style. Sure, take it easy on the Friday. Watch as we go. Watch all the mistakes that are being made, and then cook away on a Saturday.
We've got Sathish in Wolves.
Hi Satish in Wolves, my hometown. Amazing, best place in the world.
We've got Claudia in Germany, sunny Germany.
Hi Claudia in sunny Germany. I hope the weather is good for you. It's lovely here. We've had the sun out. It's a bit chilly, but it's nice. It's nice and bright.
We've got Mike has said, hi Harry.
Hi Mike.
From, Mick and Sue in Crawley. Not cooking tonight, doing madras tonight. I'm prepping chicken shashlik for barbecue tomorrow.
Amazing. Was it you? Someone asked me about which mustard to use in their shashlik. Just go for a nice English mustard, nice and strong, I'd say. Hi from, you're in Crawley, is that right? All the way in Crawley, and you're cooking a madras. One of my favourites actually, a madras, the lovely zing and the spice. So I hope you enjoy it. Take a photo of it. Make sure you share it with me on the app anyway.
Giles has said we're cooking.
Hi Giles.
Giles from all the way from Red Hill.
All the way from Red Hill. Lovely to have so many of you join.
We've got someone, I'm going to butcher your name,
Jotil?
I don't know, Alvarado from Cuernavaca in Mexico.
from Mexico. Welcome. Amazing to have you join. I'm so pleased.
Marilyn said, hello from Western Canada. 10:15 in the morning. I'm cooking later.
Western Canada, 10:15 in the morning. You're taking all the hints and tips from today and you're cooking it later. Amazing. That's so cool. It's amazing to have so many of you join from all over the globe, and every week I'm just blown away by your commitment. I mean, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch me cook. Some might think you are crazy, but I'm very, very appreciative, so thank you. Okay, so today we are cooking a lamb curry. It's a very light lamb curry, and we are going to add some lovely green fresh spinach into there because it's that time of year. You've got lots of new produce growing, you've got lots of lovely new, you know, the sun's out, and you just want to incorporate lots of green things in your diet. So this is a really nice dish to do. It is quite light in its flavour because it's not based on like a really heavy masala that we would normally make. I've got a question.
It's not really a question, but we've got, well, Ildiko is here from Hungary, and
hi
also
Ildiko.
Akos from Hungary made the jalfrezi recipe for my birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday to you, and you've cooked a jalfrezi. Liking your style. I hope you've had a lovely day, and I hope you get to relax now because it's the weekend.
Les, you're kind of answering this. Les in Manchester's not cooking has asked, are you making a lamb madras?
Hi Les, no, we're not doing a lamb madras today. Somebody else is doing a lamb madras, which I'm sure they'll share their pictures with us. We are making a lamb curry with spinach today because it's a nice light summer's evening, well, nearly summer's evening. Okay, so what I'm going to do is very, very quickly talk you through the my ingredients, and we'll get cooking. The other thing that I am going to cook today as well is some spinach or sagwali roti. So rotis with made with just the normal flour, but we're going to put some spinach into the rotis as well, and I'll show you how to do that whilst the lamb's cooking. Otherwise we'll just be sat here chit-chatting whilst it's cooking. So I've got my pan here. I've got some lamb, so I'm using neck fillet. Neck fillet is probably my favourite cut of lamb to use when you're cooking a curry, and the reason for that is that it's got a lovely bit of fat that runs through it, so it stays really tender and really moist. But you can do a really slow cook on it and it won't dry out, but you can also cook it really, really quickly. You can pan fry it and then put it in the oven and let it sort of, you sear the outside and let it cook, and it's just a really nice cut, I think. Used to be really, really cheap. It's much more expensive now. As always, people have asked what can you do in terms of trying to make this a vegan or a vegetarian dish. So my recommendations, if I remember correctly, were it would work with cauliflower. You can obviously use tofu or anything like that. Chickpeas would work with this. And if you were going vegan, then obviously you don't want to use the yogurt in there, so you can just use a coconut cream instead. So those are the options. I think somebody asked me whether they could do it with prawns, and I think, yeah, absolutely, it will work with prawns, but you just need to make sure that you don't overcook them, obviously. So I've got my lamb, I've got some yogurt here, I've got some nice thick Greek style yogurt. I have got my spinach, just some baby spinach. I've got a couple of onions, I've got my garlic and my ginger. I've got some chilies, and again, with the chilies, you use however many chilies you feel comfortable with. I've got 4 here, but I'm probably going to just use, I might just use 4, I don't know, I might use less, I'll see how I go. And I've run out of oil, so I'm going to be cooking this with ghee, only because I looked in the cupboard and I haven't got any oil left. So I'm going to be using ghee. So the key aromatic or flavour or spice that we're using in this is coriander seeds. So these are the little beauties, can you see them? So coriander seeds are the seeds of coriander. Very, very zingy in their flavour, almost quite citrusy. When you chew them, you'll get either like an orangey flavour or you'll get a lemony flavour. It's that citrus that this adds. And coriander with lamb, because of the fatty nature of lamb, works beautifully together. So a little hint for you. Before we start the marinade, and obviously with marinating, the longer you leave it, within reason, the better it is. But for the purposes of today, because it's going to take a little bit longer for the onions to brown as we want them to, I'm going to get the onions on first and then we're going to start to do the marinade. So I'm going to heat my pan and I'm going to put my ghee in there. Now, as always, I will say to you, this is your opportunity to get as much information out of me as you possibly can. So please do use this chance to ask questions. If you're cooking along with me, please give me feedback as we're going through so I know how you're getting on. If you need me to speed up, if you need me to slow down, if you've had a disaster, just give us a little shout out and I can sort of speed up or slow down depending on what suits you, because this is your opportunity on a Friday evening to cook along with me with Friday Night Curry Club. And it's hopefully a little bit of wind down time just before you get to indulge in a lovely meal. Right, so for the onions, I'm going to cut them nice and long. So you can either do these in circles like that, or you can just cut them lengthways. And we just want to get them nice and long so that they sort of caramelize beautifully. And get those in the pan first.
Move the other one out. Move the other one out of the way.
Sorry, you can't see. So just slice through nice and long and thin. I'm going to be using 2 here and roughly 600 to 800 grams of lamb. Pop that to one side. So get your onions in first, just so that you've got lots of time for them to nicely caramelize and go lovely and dark brown, which is what we're hoping will happen. There we go. Give them a bit of a stir. Get them coated in that oil or ghee if you're using it, as I am doing. And then I'll get my second one in as well. Okay. Now this is a slightly different style in that it's not a heavy masala. And what I mean by heavy masala is that you're not browning the onions down and you're not then adding tomatoes. So if you've got an allergy to tomatoes, which I know some of you have, this is probably a really nice version for you to do. And it's a bit of a made up dish. So I sort of just put it together one year when I fancied a curry, but I just fancied something a little bit lighter.
Will lamb or leg shoulder pieces work with this? Which is best if I've not got neck?
If you haven't got neck, both leg and shoulder will work. Shoulder usually takes a little bit longer to cook. But the thing with shoulder is, and you've got to be aware of it. So shoulder, I think I love lamb shoulder. It's got such a lovely flavour, but you need to let it cook low and slow. So if you are happy to do that, and just trim some of the excess fat off, but it will be more fatty than leg. Leg will cook slightly more quickly, but it can sometimes dry a little bit as well. So just be mindful, but I do like lamb shoulder. So you can use either. It depends on your personal preference and how you cook it.
Tracy said, my 11-year-old Abby is watching with me at 3 a.m. We will cook it later on our Saturday night.
Hi Abby! It's lovely to have you join. How old are you? 3?
11.
Oh, 11. Sorry.
Oh my God.
It's 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
But you're 11. You should be in bed. You'll be exhausted tomorrow. Sorry, I thought you were a 3-year-old at 11 o'clock, but you're not. You're an 11-year-old at 3 o'clock.
Can I substitute chicken instead of lamb?
Absolutely, you can. You can use chicken in this dish. There's no reason why you can't. So chicken and spinach will be really lovely together as well. So yep. I think if you're using chicken, I would go for either chicken on the bone, just so that you've got that time for it to just pick up the flavours and so on, or just use thigh fillets. Okay, so my onions are in the pan, all beautifully coated with my oil, and I will show you how it looks. So it's starting to cook down. It looks like there's a lot of onion in there, but believe me, once it starts to cook, it will disappear. This is really hot now.
Sorry. Why aren't you using the tea towel to pick it up?
So that's smelling really nice already. So we're going to start our marinade then. Really simple. As I said, the main sort of flavour or spice that we're using in this is coriander seeds. We're going to use about 2 tablespoons of coriander seeds, and I'm going to give them a bit of a bash in here. Now when you bash up coriander seeds, they don't really go down to that fine powder that you can buy. So if you've got coriander powder, that's fine, you can use that. I tend to just buy these kinds of spices whole and grind them as and when I need them. You just need to do it slowly so that they start to break down, rather than pounding them and then they all fly out out of the pestle and mortar. So just start off slowly, and I'll show you what they look like. Shall I take a photo of this? Yeah. Now, so I like to take pictures because I pop them onto my Instagram later so that you can see the process all the way through in my stories. So if you're watching and hoping that you'll be cooking later, you can also check out the Instagram stories as well to make sure that you don't miss any of it. Now I've started to get a little bit of colour on my onions, but I'm just going to give them a quick stir through. Okay, so once your coriander seeds have started to break down, then you could start getting a little bit more vigorous with it. It's like a workout. It's good for your arms, and quite often for me it's good for my legs because I'm standing on my tiptoes just because I'm so short. There we go. Okay, so into here I'm going to add my other ingredients. So I've got some garlic cloves which I've just peeled. I'm going to pop those in, and I'm also going to put in my ginger. So I've got some fresh ginger here. I'm going to roughly chop it.
Can I use lamb mince?
You could use lamb mince. I've never used lamb mince with this, but I don't see why not. Yeah, I think it would work. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
We've had a question from Michael in Italy.
Hi Michael in Italy.
He said, regarding onions in Indian cooking, as I see people in India using onions, a lot of the time they're red onions. I wonder if the flavour of onions in India varies more than in my experience. I'm not sure there's much flavour difference here in Italy, though perhaps red onions are a bit sweeter. Can you share some insight? Grazie.
Grazie mille. So in India, onions are slightly different. They are smaller and they have a natural, almost like a pink tinge to them. So they're not like red onions. They're almost a mixture between the red onions we get in Europe and normal sort of brown onions. They've got a slight pinky tinge to them, and that's just the way that the onions are. So people think that that people are cooking with red onions, but actually they're not. They're cooking with just normal onions that they get there, but they're slightly pink. In terms of flavour, They do vary. Sometimes they can be really harsh and quite strong, and sometimes they can be a bit milder. Generally, I usually go for just a normal brown onion, and that's what I will cook all of my curries with. It's pretty standard. I tend to use the red onions that we get in the West more for salads and salsas and that kind of thing. And then quite often when I cook a fish curry, I tend to use shallots, or like the banana shallots. I just think they sort of have a slightly harsher flavour, which works really well in those fish curry sauces. I hope that helps.
Linda and Alan say, hi Harry, after a few technical difficulties, we've got the chat working. We're cooking with you tonight with our son Philip.
Hi Linda and who, sorry?
Alan.
Hi Linda and Alan. Oh, I'm glad that you've managed to overcome those technical issues. We have a lot of those in this house, so I can feel your pain, but thank you for joining us. And it's really lovely to know you're cooking. Are you behind then? If you are, you just need to give me a little shout out and let me know what stage you're at. If you want me to recap anything, I'm happy to do so. So please do let me know.
Crystal's asked, hi Harry and team from Hastings, New Zealand.
Hi Crystal from New Zealand.
Yeah, watching today. I cooked the korma curry with pork from last week. It was delicious. I never buy a korma, but I will make this curry again.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that. That's amazing. And what a lovely name. I don't think I've ever met anybody called Crystal before. What a beautiful name. Thank you for joining us from New Zealand. What time is it where you are then? Gosh, I'm very pleased that you enjoyed the korma. Okay, so all I've done in here is I've got my coriander. I've given that a bash, and I have just added some ginger and some garlic to it, and I'm bashing it all together to make a bit of a paste. I'm also going to add some salt into there and give that all a bash as well.
Linda and Alan have said, no, we're good. Philip's on the onions.
Amazing, well done. Lovely to know you're already with us.
5:38 a.m. Saturday morning.
5:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Do you know what? I'm so looking forward to going to bed, and it's going to be Saturday tomorrow. I'm excited about that, but you're up early. Amazing. Well, I hope you get to cook this one as well, Crystal, because if you like the korma, you'll probably like this one, I should imagine.
Margaret's asked, hi, your recipe says lamb leg. Is that okay to use as it's what
Yes,
I've got?
Yep. Lamb leg is absolutely fine. And those of you who have cooked with me, either in person or through YouTube or any other means that I've cooked with you, will know that I do wing it quite a lot, because I do believe that you can create stuff with whatever you have. I'm not somebody who will go through a recipe literally step by step and make sure that it has to be done in that way, because that just takes the fun out of cooking for me. Okay, I'm going to show you what I've got here.
Mark's asked, are you having a glass of wine tonight?
What do you mean, Mark? I don't normally have a glass of wine on a Friday. Of course I am. Cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. I've got a little glass of Prosecco.
There's lots of love for me going on at the moment, I'd just like to say.
Lots of love for you going on.
Yeah.
She's loving you lot. Okay.
Gordon thought I was a professional producer.
She tells me off all the time. Here we go. So that is ginger, garlic, some salt, and my coriander that's gone in there. Now that is doing my arms the world of good.
Anne has said, our mortar is tiny. Any suggestion to crush garlic?
If you've got a tiny pestle and mortar, you can just chop up your garlic first. If you've got a rolling pin, you can just get some foil or some cling film, put it in that and give it a bash. Or just chop it as finely as you can, and then just put it on your board and just go through it with your knife. And once you've chopped it up, then put it into your pestle and mortar. Just give it a bash and then pop it in to your meat. So here is my meat. I'm going to add my spice mix to it. Now it should it should smell really fresh, really quite zingy, and really quite delicious. Okay, now keep an eye on your onions as well. So make sure you're giving them a little stir through every now and again. Mine have started to brown really nicely. As always, if you feel like they are catching on the bottom of your pan, and a lot of that does depend on the pan you're using, you can just put a little splash of water in and just lift everything off the bottom of the pan. So do keep an eye on them, but let them caramelize and cook away until they're nice and golden. Okay, so I'm just going to stir my marinade in. I'm going to do that into my lamb. Now, in the recipe, I know I've said you can just mix that in and let that sit for as long as possible. So I'm assuming some of you are really on the ball and have done this bit already beforehand, which is fine. I like to do things live so that you can actually see what I'm doing. And if you're doing it live, don't worry too much that, you know, you're not going to get the flavors penetrating in. It's fine. You know, not everybody has lots of time to spend marinating and so on. But one thing I'm going to say is, if you are marinating like I'm doing, a really good idea is to just use 1 spoonful of the yogurt that you've got for later. Just put that in to your lamb and just mix that in. That will just help everything sort of speed along a little bit. I know that's not what I've said in the recipe, but in the recipe we've got a longer time to leave our meat to marinate, so I'm just sort of trying to help to tenderize it a little bit more by using that yogurt.
Is this boneless lamb neck?
So I'm using boneless neck fillet. You can obviously use meat on the bone. I love cooking with meat on the bone, so much more flavor. If you've got a butcher that does it for you, amazing. You could use leg, you can use shoulder, so whatever cut you like personally, you can sort of adapt it to that. If you were cooking, I mean, ideally this is a lamb dish because you've got the spinach and it's nice and light, as opposed to a long, low, slow cook like you would do with mutton. But if you're using chicken, it's exactly the same process. I would marinate and then just follow the recipe as we are doing. There we go. So this is what it's looking like. And if you haven't put yogurt in, that's fine, if you've marinated it before. So that's what it looks like at the moment. Okay, everyone happy? So we'll let that sit there for a moment while our onions continue to brown. So mine are looking pretty good. I'll show you what they look like. Now, let me know how you're getting on. If you are cooking, how are your onions looking? Have we got some browning going on? Do I need to? There we go. So we've got a bit of colour to them. They've got nice and golden. Okay, so let me know how yours are getting on. Oh, they smell so good. Now what you want to do is just get a little bowl ready, because we're going to take some of the onions out because we'll be using that for our garnish. And what I've done is I've just got some spinach that I'm going to use as a garnish, and I've just sliced it up, and I'm going to pop the onions in there once they are cooked and browned enough, and I'll mix that up, and that will be our garnish for the end of the dish. Whilst the onions are browning away, I'm going to chop up a chilli. I'm going to chop up 2 chilies that are going to go into my dish. So with chilies, nice and fine, seeds, the works, the whole lot. If you don't want to use the whole chili because you don't think it's going to be too hot, then just use half a chili. You don't want to spend hours taking the seeds out. This is all quite, you know, it's quite a rustic dish, so we don't mind a bit of texture in there, that's fine. There we go. Give that a stir. So my onions are starting to get that lovely caramelized colour on them. But I still want them to go a little bit darker, I think. Okay. Right, so how is everybody doing? Are we all keeping up? Is everyone happy?
Robert said, browning nicely. Linda and Alan, we're really enjoying it. Onions looking great so far. Julian said, I thought you said the yoghurt was an ingredient of the masala. Should I have put it in with the marinade?
No. So if I just go back to that little point that I made, the yoghurt goes into our masala, but if you have already marinated your lamb, then that's fine. Just leave it as is, and you will add the yoghurt into the masala once we add the meat in. I've just put a spoonful into my meat just to help tenderize it, because I'm not going to be able to leave my meat there for half an hour to let it marinate because we're doing this live. So I've just put a little bit of yoghurt in there. If you want to, you can also put a little bit of yoghurt in there, but in the recipe it just says we're just going to add it in when it's cooking. So don't panic, don't worry.
Anea said, sadly not able to join in today. One of my favourite dishes. Have you ever cooked the meat in a pressure cooker? We're a family of 6, so we cook a lot and it takes a long time.
Hi Anea, that's a beautiful name. My daughter's called Naya.
It's not my friend Anea.
Yes, so pressure cooker, using the pressure cooker is a really great way of reducing the cook time. And I do like using the pressure cooker. I think it works for Indian food. It works really, really well because it tenderizes that meat. It cooks everything down really quickly, and it also helps flavour infuse into the meat. So I absolutely love cooking with a pressure cooker. I think it's a great way to cook Indian dishes. You know, not just meat dishes, but lentils, dal dishes. Even things like just boiling your potatoes, it just takes no time at all. So using the pressure cooker or getting confident in using a pressure cooker at home is a brilliant sort of time saver. It's a really nice way to prep and cook Indian food. I mean, they've come a long way since I was little.
They're so scary.
And they are. So
I don't like them.
I think if you grow up in an Indian household, most people grow up with a fear of pressure cookers because they used to be so loud, and the whistle and the noise they would make, it literally scares the bejesus out of you. So yes, I think pressure cooking for the Indian world is brilliant.
We've got a few questions.
Some questions. I'm just going to, just before I answer them, I'm just going to start to just go through and just take some of my browned onions out and just pop them into my dish here whilst I'm answering your questions.
What do you think about substituting smoked paprika for chopped chilies?
So smoked paprika, and it really depends what you're trying to do. So I like paprika. I love using paprika. I quite often will use paprika as a substitute for red chilies, red chili powder, because it gives a really lovely colour. It gives the colour that you're looking to add with your chili powder. If you don't like spice or heat, then paprika will give you that sort of warmth and the right colour. So it's a really good alternative. I don't like, for Indian food, not a really heavily smoked paprika, because that sort of, I think it's the wrong flavour and aromatic profile. But I will use paprika in Indian food, but just not a heavy one. And I quite often say to people, if you can't get hold of Kashmiri chili powder, a really good substitute is half paprika and half red chilies, and you mix that up and it gives you the colour and the warmth as well. So yeah, I like paprika. We're paprika fans.
Please tell me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I feel really bad. Ghotra from Mexico said, I usually add some sea salt to onions. It dehydrates and helps to brown them really faster.
Absolutely, yeah, you can. So putting a little bit of salt into your pan just to help them along is a really good way of cooking onions down. I sometimes do it, I sometimes don't. It really depends on what I'm doing. I haven't done it today because I wanted to put the salt into my meat to help it start to tenderize and marinate. But yes, I agree with you. My daughter has requested that you phonetically write your name so that we are saying it correctly.
Really
Can you, if you tell us exactly how we're supposed to pronounce it, that would be really good.
Giles has said we had to switch the prosecco to champagne. Unfortunately,
Giles, I don't know what to say. If only I could have champagne today. Huh. Well, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's a good bottle as well.
Trixie said, how much onion should I remove?
So I've said in the recipe about 1/3 of what's in there, but even if you go 1/4, that should be enough. It's really just for a garnish at the end. So once it's all cooked down, we don't want to take too much out because that's your base flavour. We don't want to take too much out because we're going to add some more bits into here. So 1/4 to 1/3 is probably enough. So I'm just going to take out that much. So I've got my chopped up spinach that I'm going to use for my garnish, and I've got my browned onions there. So I'm just going to pop that to one side for later on.
Aeneas said, at what stage would you pressure cook it after marinating or after you've combined everything?
So I would, once my onions are brown and I'm happy and the meat goes in, at that point you can just put it in the pressure cooker. So if you're using a pressure cooker, you would be doing this bit, the browning, in the pressure cooker. So you cook it all in the pressure cooker, then add your meat, and you would probably need to add a little bit of liquid, not a lot, but a little bit of liquid in there, and then pressure cook it. And I would say probably on high for probably about 8 to 9 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes, and then let the heat drop and the pressure relax, and then just make sure that it's all cooked, and then you sort of do your final bits. So when you put your meat in, you would add all your other spices just the way that we're going to do it, and then pressure cook everything in there together. Okay, any more questions, or are we good?
We're good. Randeep's cooking tandoori lamb chops and having a bottle of Bacardi.
Oh, tandoori lamb chops. I hope you've got some chutney to go with it, because that's a very, very important part of any lamb chop. Enjoy your bottle of Bacardi as well. Gosh, really going for it on a Friday night. Okay, so my onions are beautifully browned. I'm going to now add my lamb into here. So here's our amazingly marinated lamb. I'm going to put that in. Now when I have put that in, I'm going to turn my temperature right up because I want to sear that meat in that pan. So turn my temperature to high. Scoop out any remaining marinade because that is all flavour. And give that a stir. We're just coating it with everything that's in the pan so far, just giving it all a little bit of heat. Spread it out a little bit, and while it's searing, I'm going to add in my chilies. So the chopped chilies that you've just done, they go in. I'm also going to add my spices. Now I've lost my spoon. Okay, so into here I'm going to add some turmeric, so just under a teaspoon, and I'm also going to put in some chilli powder as well, just for a bit of warmth, a little bit of colour. So this is where this dish differs, in that we're not adding any tomatoes. If, however, you wanted something that was a little bit more, had a little bit more oomph to it, you could, if you wanted to, put some tomatoes in at this stage as well and just let everything come together. But because I'm aiming, so when I cook, I always say to people, think about what you want to end up with, and that will help guide you throughout the cooking process. So if you want a deep, dark, meaty, tomatoey based curry, you're going to need tomatoes. I'm aiming for a nice, light, vibrant dish that has got beautiful green spinach in there. So I'm going to keep mine nice and light. So once that's gone in there, we are just giving everything a mix, and I'll show you what my pan looks like in a second.
Randeep says he cheated and bought his chutney from a restaurant in Southall.
Well, do you know what? It is Friday. I'll let you off, Randeep, just because it's Friday, and I suppose if you wanted to cheat, Friday's the day to do it. Right, I'm just going to show you the inside of my beautiful looking.
What was the second spice that you put in? Kashmiri chili?
So Kashmiri chili and turmeric has gone in. So if you look at it, it's got that lovely hint of turmeric, but it's quite a light coloured dish at the moment.
Accidentally took a boomerang, not a picture.
Okay. So give it all a good old stir. And then I'm just going to let that cook for a little while. So I'm going to turn it down. So it was on really high. I'm going to turn it down. I'm just going to pop the lid on. I'm going to let it just do its thing just for a little while, and then we're going to add our yoghurt into there, but I want it to cook for a little bit first. So whilst that's doing its thing, I'm just going to get the spinach ready, and we're also going to cook a little bit of the spinach to make our roti dough with, or our atta with. So I'm going to firstly just take a little bit that I'm going to be using for the roti, and all I've got here is just another pan. It's got a tiny little bit of water in there. I've already washed my spinach, so I'm taking a handful, maybe a bit more, 2 handfuls into that pan. I'm just going to turn that on and just let it wilt, because that is what I'm going to use to make the dough with. So I want it to wilt, and then I'm going to blitz it to make a really nice green puree, and that's what I'll put into my flour to make the roti dough with. The rest of it I'm just going to pop on here and very quickly just run my knife through it. I don't want to chop it up too much, just enough. With spinach it always looks like you've got loads and you just think, oh, I'm not going to use all that, but it just cooks away to nothing. So just be mindful of that. I'm just going to pour that down there. Got water all over the place. Okay, so is everybody still with me? Has everyone got their lid on their pan and it's all cooking beautifully? Let me know where you are. Give me that feedback, because if you don't tell me, I just don't know how we're getting on. There we go. So that's going in here, and it's really rough. I'm really chopping it very roughly. Nothing special in this at all, but just making it a little bit smaller. This is all going to cook in with our lamb, so I'm not worried about it looking pretty or anything. There we go. Just put it in there. Now I can hear my pan bubbling away, so I'm just going to give that a little stir.
Giles has asked, what do we need for the roti?
Okay, so for the roti, we need some, if you've got it, some atta, which is roti flour. If you haven't got that, you can just use some normal plain flour, that's fine. I would say probably, no, have a look on the recipe for it. I think I'll say about 200 grams. Some of the spinach, which we're wilting down, a little drop of milk, and then a flat pan that we're going to cook it in. So this is my roti pan. If you haven't got a roti pan, just a nice flat frying pan will do. So if you get those bits ready for the rotis.
What am I looking up?
Pardon?
What am I looking at? Oh, hang on, rotis. Not
Saag wali roti. So with my spinach, all I'm doing is I'm just letting it wilt down, and this is where we've got to. So we don't want to overdo it. I'm just softening it like that, and then I'm going to just give that a blitz. Okay. So that's cooked. I'm just going to put it to one side, and we're going to come back to that in a sec.
What do you need?
So can you just post the link to the recipe? So I'm just going to post my link to the roti recipe so that you can see how to do it.
Robert's added tomatoes to his.
Okay, that's fine. That's cool. I can, this will work with tomatoes. It will work without tomatoes. I'm liking your style. I'm liking your freestyling, guys.
Linda's asked what was in the garnish.
So all I've put in my, so I've just kept a little bit of the spinach and I've sliced it up nice and finely, and then the browned onions. That's the garnish that we'll be using later. Okay. So nothing more elaborate than that. And all I'm doing is just slicing up my spinach really roughly. That's going to go into my lamb. Have you posted the recipe?
Yeah, it's in the chat.
So I've just posted the recipe in the chat for the saag wali roti. So this is it's just roti that's made with blanched spinach to make the dough. So it's a bright green dough. Okay, there's my spinach for later. I'm just going to peek at my lamb. Now, if you look at your lamb, you should already start to see moisture coming through.
Move the lid.
Yeah. And it should start to, should be smelling delicious already. So we'll continue to let that do its thing. So for my dough, I have got here my blanched spinach. I'm just going to put it on a base. And where's my tub? Okay. And in here I've got, I would say probably about 100 mils of water. No, 100 mils of milk, not water.
I'm going to say that's some dirty water.
So I've got milk in there. And all I'm going to do is put my spinach into the milk, and I'm going to blitz it all up to make a nice sort of puree. If you don't want to use milk, you can just use water. The milk just sort of helps the dough soften a little bit. So I'm going to use, oh, I've got a frog in my throat, so I'm going to have a drink instead.
Now
Do you want to take a picture of that?
Yeah, let's watch this.
So that's what it looks like.
Not go everywhere.
So I've got my hand blender here, and I'm just going to blitz that.
Johnny's here.
Hi, Johnny.
Said, whoops, is that the time?
Oh, you missed me. Oh, just can't get the staff, can you? So I've got my flour here. I've got my mixed up spinach and milk, and I actually think I've got too much in there. It's too much milk in there, but that's okay. You can have a look at it. I think it's going to be too much for the amount of flour I've got. And then I'm going to pour in a little tiny bit, because I've got a tiny bit of oil. About 2 teaspoons or so. I'm going to put some salt in there as well. And then I am going to just pour in.
Hang on. Yeah, okay.
I'm going to pour in a little bit of the spinach and milk. And with one hand, I'm just going to bring that dough together. I'm going to keep on adding it.
I want to get your hand doing it.
And very slowly your dough will start to come together.
Ads has said, who does all the washing up after? I hope it's not Harry.
The dishwasher does the washing up. I'm so good that I don't actually make a lot of mess.
You will when you're blitzing up that sog. All up the walls.
Okay. So you just bring your dough together. Now when you do this, my recommendation, and what I always say to people in all my classes is, it's a real tendency for a lot of people to just dive straight in with 2 hands, which is fine, but you just end up with 2 really mucky hands. So what I tend to do is just a little bit at a time, but just use 1 hand, and then it means that you've got a clean hand to pour in the water. Now what you should end up with is a really nice soft pliable dough. Now we need to knead it for a little while just to help it soften, and ideally when you do this, if you can leave your roti dough to rest for a good sort of 20 minutes or so, it does help, which is why I'm sort of doing it now. Oh dear. My salt looks like little shards of glass. So you should end up with a really lovely bright green dough. Can you see that? So we are going, look.
Oh my gosh.
That's my okay. Now I've run out of my flaky salt, so I've used a different one. I should have. Now when you are doing this, do knead it for a little while just to soften. But it should feel really pliable. So I often say to people, it's almost like plasticine, a bit like pizza dough. So it's really nice and soft. And the way that you know that you've done it is that you end up with a clean bowl, completely clean, and a clean hand. Okay? So that is your challenge. Now, if at any point it gets really sticky and it's all over the place, you just need to add a little bit more flour and just sort of soak up the extra water or liquid that you've put in there. If it feels dry and it just breaks, that's not right either. So you need to add a little bit of water. So just tiny little bits at a time until you get to a place where it's really nice and soft and pliable like that.
Matt he said, sadly not cooking, I'm at work, but I've got an entirely off-topic question. Is galajana besan an okay sub for normal besan?
So galajana besan is just made with black chickpeas rather than I think, in fact, do you know what? I think I think all chickpea flour is made from black chickpeas. I think that's just, it's not a sub. Yeah, it's absolutely fine to use. Absolutely fine to use. It's not off topic at all. I think it's absolutely in topic. Yes, I've got a feeling all Wissen is made out of black jana, but they've just obviously put it on the packaging, which has made you think about it twice. So there you go. Lovely, lovely, soft, 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 pliable. So I'm going to pop that there, and we're going to come back to that in a minute. So I'm going to have a little clear down.
Robert's making naans with your recipe.
We love a good naan. Who's that, Robert?
Yep.
Oh. Right. So just obviously washing my hands. Just going to have a clear down. Just give you a breather for a minute so that so you're keeping it real. We have to do everything ourselves. Okay, this is your opportunity to ask any questions you might have, so keep them coming in, guys. Right, I'm going to have a look now at the lamb. It should be doing some lovely stuff in there. Yum. Right, I want to show you how much liquid and how much moisture has come out of that meat. Quite often when people cook lamb or cook any curry, they'll make their masala and then they'll put loads of water in there. And what you're doing is you've made yourself quite a nice intense flavoured masala, and then you just dilute it down by adding lots of water. What you want to happen is for the gravy and the flavour and the fat in the meat to render out so that it creates its own juice and its own sauce. So if I show you what it looks like, I don't know, hopefully you'll be able to see, but can you see how much liquid has come out of the meat itself? Can you see it or not? You can't, can you?
Not really.
But that's what it's looking like. There's all in a pool at the bottom there. There's loads and loads of moisture and
Susan
sauce.
said, clear up, clear down. You're funny.
Clear up, clear down. Is that what I said?
Yeah. No, you said clear up or clear down.
Okay.
And she said, I love your recipe for dal. My family love it too, thank goodness.
Oh, dal is one of life's little pleasures, I have to say.
And someone asked if you speak Punjabi.
I do speak Punjabi. It's my first language. That was so Punjabi is what I was born speaking, and that's what we always spoke at home. A little story. Fairly recently, my mum was having a bit of a clear out, and she went through some of our school stuff, and I had a look at my school report, my infant school report, and it said in there, oh, Harsharan, because my name's Harsharan for a start. She's very quiet, she doesn't really interact with anybody. And I was reading this, and I was like, Mum, that's not me. That's not like me at all. And she said, yeah, it's because you couldn't speak English. And I didn't realise, apparently, when I first went to school, I couldn't speak English because all we ever spoke at home was Punjabi. So that's my first language, my mother tongue. So yes, I do speak Punjabi. Okay, so the lamb is sort of doing its beautiful thing in there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our yoghurt into the curry, but I'm not going to do that yet. So I'm going to move the pan over and just put it on a different hob just to let it cook a little bit longer. And then what we're going to do is we are going to put a spoonful at a time of the yoghurt into the pan, but we're going to do it on a really gentle heat. I don't want to put it on a high heat because I don't want that yoghurt to split. What I want to do is just incorporate that into the sauce so you get a really creamy, quite a thick, aromatic flavoured sauce. But you'll only achieve that by putting one spoonful in at a time and just letting it very slowly melt into the sauce. and then doing it again. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm going to let it carry on cooking for a while, and I'm just going to have a little move around of my bits and pieces just to show you how to make these rotis. And I'm going to put them to one side. Now, one of the criticisms I got last week, I get a lot of criticisms. One of the criticisms I got last week was that I didn't tell you when to put your rice on so that all of your food came together at the right time. So it really depends on what you're cooking. So for me, the lamb is probably going to take another 15-20 minutes. If you are cooking lamb shoulder, it's going to take a bit longer. If you are doing prawns, like somebody said they were going to do, it's probably already done. And if that's the case, then you want to put your spinach, you put your yogurt in, put your spinach in, and you're pretty much done. If you were cooking it with paneer, tofu, anything like that, you would want to put your yogurt in now as well, just to make sure there's enough moisture in the pan. If you're doing it with chicken, you can follow the same process, that's not a problem. But what I would recommend, if you are having rice, you want to start prepping your rice. So get your rice washed, get it into the pan and start bringing that up to the boil so that your rice is ready for when your meal is almost ready to eat. Okay, so rotis. We're going to make a couple of them, and then we're going to go back to the lamb and finish the lamb. So what I've got here is I have got my little bit of dusting, it's just normal flour. I've got my rolling pin, and I've got my tawa, which is this pan. So what I'm going to do is take a little ball of my roti, my saag wali roti, and just make a nice ball with it. And you want to put some pressure on there just to make sure that it gets rid of all the cracks and all the bits. We want a nice small roti. Okay, and the idea is that you make a nice round shape. The rounder you get this bit, the rounder your roti will be at the end. Okay, then you just pop it into your dusting and just flatten it out. And we've done this a few times. If you've cooked with me before, we've done this a few times. So flatten it out until you've got a nice round roti there. A little bit of dusting, and then with our rolling pin, we're just going to go forwards and backwards, slightly more pressure on one side, and the aim is that your roti starts to rotate so it's even thickness. Now, this takes a little bit of practice. So I've been doing this for many, many years. Every time it sticks, you stop, a little bit more dusting goes on, and then you start rolling again. And ideally, you'll get a nice sort of evenly shaped round roti that looks like that. Now, the salt that I've put in my rotis has made holes in it. That's fine. Okay. I knew I shouldn't have used that salt. It's making me very cross. Anyway. See, live TV and all that. Okay, now your tawa needs to be hot, so I'm just going to make sure, move these bits out of the way so you can see. Okay, so we put this directly onto our tawa. And as it cooks, it takes about 3 or 4 seconds, it will start to darken in colour. And if you're using gas, obviously, you can fluctuate your temperature up and down so that it cooks properly. If you're using electric, it's not always that easy to do. But you will see, you start to get little bubbles underneath. Okay, oops, sorry, you get little bubbles. When those little bubbles appear, it's then time to turn it over. So I've turned it once. So you just want to apply heat to it
My rotis are never round. Does a pastry roller help?
Practice is what helps make your rotis round. That's all I can recommend. Now, if you look below, I've got there's a whole load of ebooks that I've put together. There's a whole one about Indian breads, and that goes through all the details that you need. So as you start to get these little puffs of air on that side, you'll get darker balls. Then you just put it directly onto your flame, and this is what we call a fulgur. So when it is directly over the flames and cooking, that's a fulgur. Okay, so it puffs up like a beautiful ball of air. That's what we're looking for. And then the best bit, you then smear it with butter. Now, you don't have to put butter on it, but you do have to put butter on it because it's just so delicious. So I'm going to show you how to do another one as well.